So with a 2H pencil, we are going to make a rough circle. We're just going to go around and around until we get a good shape. It's not going to be a perfect circle, but we're trying to sort of perfect that. Then we're going to go along the edges, drawing the beginning of the upper lid. We want a curved inner corner and have it bow outwards to meet with the edge of the eyeball. Then have the two lids meet, like so. And define that a little bit. Then we're going to go from the inner corner up to make sort of a pseudo eyelid. It's not going to be the actual eyelid, but it's going to give us some guidelines. And then at the bottom, we're going to do the lower lid, which is something I feel like a lot of people forget. Then we are going to add the inner corners of the eye and the outer corners, and like those little tiny parts of your inner corner eye. I'm not even sure what they're called, but we're going to put those in there. And then we're going to draw a water line and define that. Now we're going to define the iris a little better. We're just going to sketch it slightly darker in a nice even line. Now going in with a eraser from a mechanical pencil, we're going to erase those sketchy lines from when we were first drawing the iris. And back with the 2H, we're going to add some shading to the whites of the eye, because it is a sphere and should be shaded slightly outwards. Then we're going to add a shadow over the top of the eyelid of the eye, which is going to be being cast from the lashes. Now I'm going to try and find the center of the iris and begin with a rough circle of the pupil. I sort of make a spiral shape until I find the size that I'm wanting. Now it's time to sketch out the light shines. For this particular one, I'm going to be having a window reflecting in the eye, which means we want a curved rectangle with another curved line down the middle and along the side. I also want one right here down at the end of the pupil and another nearer the waterline. It can sort of just be irregular shapes. Now I'm going to begin the shading of the lower lid, just by going on the outer corners and leaving the center of the lid blank. Eyelid is a very important part of making your eye look realistic. Don't neglect the eyelids. Now we're going to get a blending stump, a 1/4, and we're going to blend in the whites of the eye, darker to lighter, and also blend the eyelids. We always want the skin to be slightly darker than the whites of the eye, which is why we're going in with the eraser to lighten up the eye whites. They're not quite where we want them. Now we're going in with a Byeeeee pencil from Kimberly, and we are redefining the upper line of the eye. Along with the bottom lash waterline. We're not pressing too hard, but we are adding the definition needed. And don't forget the eyelids. Again, we're adding more depth to the eyelids because we do want them to be slightly darker and look more like skin. And, you know, skin's not the same color as the whites of your eyes. Now we are going to fill in the pupil. I use little tiny circle motions because it's harder to see the lines that way, but you can always do what feels right to you. Now I'm going to define the lines of my window light shine because, I don't know, I just felt like I should, and the outer parts of the pupil. Now this is a really important part, is making wedge-like shapes through the eye. We don't want to have the edges of the pupil be the center. We want the middle of the pupil to be the center. So we're making as many little wedges as we want. For this one, I think I'm doing like, I don't know. I'm doing a lot. You can see what I did. And we are erasing that little part of the light shine I did wrong. Now I'm going to make this little curved U shape in each section of the eye. Each section gets its own little U. We're just going to continue with this all the way around the iris, and then we're going to define all of the lines we previously made with the B pencil. We want it sort of messy anyways, it doesn't have to be perfect lines. Then I'm taking the B pencil and as lightly as I possibly can, just shading in the entire iris. We want very, very little pressure at this point. And then with the blending stump, just blending it out. In outward motions, not squiggly, just like from pupil to edge of it. And then I'm going to use the B to just make the edges a little better and add a little bit more shadow onto our iris. A little more definition. Now we're going to use a 4B pencil to really, really define the pupil. We want it to be very dark. We're also going to use this for the edges of our iris. And to add little lines. See, we're sort of just scribbling around the edges. And then near the pupil. All the way around. Now with a 6B pencil, we are going to make these tiny, tiny, skinny little dashes coming from the edges and from the inner pupil. We're going to use an eraser to make sure the light shines are as bright as we want them. Fix the window. And then we're just going to smudge around the pupil, and then again going to be using a B pencil and an eraser to redefine the light shines again. I ended up cutting a high polymer eraser into a pointed wedge shape to really get into the small spaces that I wanted to reach. I also used this to make a half moon, slightly lighter portion of the pupil. Then with a 6B, I started defining the upper lash line. I then used a mechanical pencil to start with the lashes. We just go in curved lines coming out of the waterline. Not on the edge, but coming out from it. All the way along the entire lash line. Then we're going to start doing the same thing up top. I ended up going with a 2H pencil instead of my mechanical for the top lashes. But you see we're doing the same thing coming from the inside out. Very curved. And we want these to go up to about where the faux eyelid is. Now with a B pencil, because we want some more depth to the upper lashes, we are going to add sporadic lashes. Not quite as thickly as the first ones, but still definitely there. Then we're going to use the blending stump to add some shading from the lashes. And just use some finishing touches, a little bit more smudging, all that jazz. Now we're adding the real upper eyelid, and we're going to have this above the lashes, and it's going to sort of go over it like this, like an arch, and then we're going to have darkened outer corner. I had to fix some eyelashes because I smudged them a little bit. And just added a couple more in there. Never forget to sign your work, guys. Bye!